Welcome back to another exciting edition of your favorite podcast, Hindsight is Horrifying, the Christmas editions.
La 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 la.
I am an host, Jason Mitchell.
I hate it when you do that. I'm the other host, Darth Jader.
And we are tonight going back down the Christmas rabbit hole with one of...
I think you mean the Christmas reindeer hole.
Reindeers don't dig holes, do they?
I don't know.
That's stupid.
I just thought it was fitting.
Stop being dumb.
Getting weird already.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Anyway,
You don't take long to get weird anymore.
we're doing Home Alone.
Yay!
one of everybody's favorite holiday movies.
And if it's
by
not,
far.
then you're a communist.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who just doesn't like this movie a lot. I've never met anyone who hates the movie. If you hate this movie, please drop us a line. Let us know. We'd like to get your opinion on this and other things.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't.
We love
we
adverse opinions.
don't really care, but
We handle adverse opinions so well on this show.
But we'd love to argue.
But Darth, why don't you tell us who's in the audience tonight?
Yes, we hear her melodious tones in the corner. You know her and love her from the Princess Bride episode, Hindsighters. My friend Cece is back with us in the studio.
Hello, hello.
All right, calm down, guys. Calm down. Take it easy.
Okay,
All right.
all
We
right.
know it's exciting.
Loving the new effects.
Yeah,
Shh.
that seems to
Thought
be
it was a real audience.
that seems to be about the
Cece.
only one that we use.
No, we use the womp womp.
Oh, that's true. We do, we do that sometimes.
And you put the crickets on me whenever you're tired of listening to me
And
babble about John
I always
Mulaney.
forget which one is the rim shot, and so I end up doing that whenever I mean to do that.
Which is so fitting for, the holiday episodes. It's creepy background
I'm
music.
imagining the audience listening to us now going, okay, come on.
All right, get to the point. Get to the
point.
Throw the ring into Mordor, guys. Let's go.
Full disclosure, I did not have time to do the due diligence that I normally do in these movies.
Oh, please. I take all the notes for the show, and you know it.
All I'll be able to do is talk about Macaulay Culkin and how he's still out there. He's around. He's actually the guys at Red Letter Media. He has guest starred on numerous of their programs,
Along with the Joe Rogan Project. So, yeah, he's done podcasts.
yeah.
He's out there in several mediums these days. So, yeah.
Yeah, he did. What was it for Allstate? I think he did like a spoof of Home Alone.
Yes, he did.
yeah,
Where it was like
yeah.
what Home Alone would look like now that he's, 30-something or
That's
whatever.
right. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, no, he's in his early 60s now. Okay.
Well, when they did those commercials.
Yeah.
And plus, I think he was playing a bit of a younger age, which happens.
That is true.
Because he's always played a young age.
But let's talk about the worst parents in the history of cinema.
Well, let's fill some people in since this movie is all the way back from 1990. Some of our younger listeners might not know it so well. So, Hindsighters, in case you're not familiar, the basic synopsis of Home Alone is when bratty 8-year-old Kevin McCallister, Macaulay Culkin, acts out the night before a family trip to Paris. His mother, Catherine O'Hara, makes him sleep in the attic. After the McCallisters mistakenly leave...
right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a bedroom. There's lighting. There's a whole bed. We'll get to it. So she makes him sleep in the attic. Catherine
You
O'Hara.
can say the same thing about the guy that stuck the girl in his basement.
Just
for
let me
like
tell
12
him what the
years.
damn
There
movie's
was
about.
good lighting.
There was a light in there. What's the problem?
There was light creeping in from under the door. After the McCallisters mistakenly leave for the airport without Kevin, he awakens to an empty house and assumes his wish to have no family has come true. But his excitement is short-lived when he realizes that he has to pretty much adult by himself as an 8-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and he.
Oh, and there's Kieran.
Kieran Culkin.
Yeah, we just passed him.
He's very poorly served by his parents and also by the police department, which is genuinely terrible.
Well, there is a fake policeman in his house, and none of the adults. This is what kills me in the beginning of the movie. So you've got about 15 people. The parents have the dad's brother's in town with his wife and family, and somehow 2 sets of parents add up to like 12 children.
Yeah,
they had a lot of kids.
Yeah. Well, they're a good Catholic family.
Yes, they are. You do see Kevin cross himself later before he eats his macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
So that's true. But yeah, so Kevin's running around and he's trying to get his mom's attention. She's on the phone. And Jason and I were debating this a little bit before you got here, Cece, the fact that Jason thinks that the McCallister parents are just horrible to Kevin. And I was like, I don't know. My dad was pretty strict about the phone rule growing up. If he was on the phone and I interrupted him the way Kevin interrupted his mom, I got the look of death. It was pretty serious.
So first of all, let me say, this is my future 8-year-old right here.
Oh, yeah?
This is my kid.
Lucius?
Yeah.
Hopefully not your future 20-year-old.
Hopefully not, but
Yeah.
snotty, way too clever for his own good.
I can already see it.
No amount of discipline, does anything.
Do you have a finished attic?
No, I do not.
Well, then you're perfect then.
However,
You could be a really mean mom
I
and put him
kind
in
of
the
wish I
unfinished
did,
attic.
I did have an attic with good lighting where I could put him.
Lightning. Oh, my. That sounds like severe punishment.
Lighting.
But speaking of your kids, Cece, I know some of your reasons behind picking the movie, but our listeners do not. So what is it that made you request this special movie for this episode?
So this movie, in my house, we watch this movie year round. This was one of my favorites growing up, but then this is my son Xavier's absolute favorite movie.
Not the ruckus 8-year-old potential
No,
child.
my
This is her
oldest
older
son.
child, yeah.
We watch it when someone's sick. We watch it when someone's had a bad day. It's just one of those comforting movies that you know every scene and
At
every line.
funerals, at
At bar mitzvahs.
yes, when sentencing hearings.
Yes,
those-
absolutely.
Pretty much. And always makes you feel better after. It's one of those, feel good movies.
Ultimately, yeah. The beginning, though, I can see is kind of cold where, especially the scene that we're here right now, where Kevin has created a ruckus in his house. He's mad that the adults and they're trying to organize this very stressful trip for 15 people.
Yeah, mistake number one.
Yeah. To all be on the same
Yeah.
flight to Paris, which...
Yeah.
Why are you traveling together? And Josh and I were in Paris last year. It's a 9.5-hour flight.
Right.
It's a long
and I love
trip.
I love that they're up in business class and they stuck all the kids in the back.
Oh,
I couldn't
only
get
in the
away with
90s.
There is no way I could get away with that with my kid.
Yeah, only in the 90s.
He would be. The plane would be diverted to another location. That's how that would end up.
Well, there would be a
You know those YouTube videos where the woman's like running up and down the aisle screaming? That would be my kid.
They got away with
plane.
they got away with so many different things back in the 90s. When some of us were watching this, I just took everything for granted when I first watched this movie. Like, oh yeah, my parents would be like, you sit in this seat. If an adult tells you to do something, you do it. You mind your manners. Just sit here for the entire flight. There's the bathroom, behave. And then maybe they would have sat me up in coach, but like
Jade, you're a special kid, just like
Yeah.
my oldest.
they would have trusted me to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
You don't know. I didn't know.
No, but like
Till my second kid.
parents these days would never sit in a completely different section from their kids.
No, it's true.
Yeah, like
Not-
it's just
I
They were
don't know
older.
if they would. I don't actually know if the airlines would let you do that.
I don't think they
anymore,
would.
No.
But they did, to be fair, they did. And that's where part of the problem occurs. So we have this imperfect set of circumstances where Kevin has it out with his mom. He's misbehaving. He's being a bit of a brat. But she puts him up in the attic and he's like, I wish I didn't have a family. And she's like, well, maybe ask for Santa for that. And maybe it'll come true, And he says it again and says, I wish I could never see any of you again. And they have it out pretty hard. It's a pretty serious conversation.
Well, this was the movie, because I know Darth, your favorite part of the show is whenever I talk about characters being supernatural beings.
Oh, absolutely.
This was actually the movie that sort
This
of got
started
that started.
that off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to allow it.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting is that watching it again, because the whole theory is that the old man who lives next door is actually
Old Man Marley.
Old Man Marley is a supernatural being, and that he's actually responsible for all of the things that happen.
I'm not even rolling my eyes.
But when you watch it and you watch the sequence between when he wishes that he didn't have a family, and when they wake up the next morning, it's a horror movie sequence
A little
with the
bit.
wind kicking up and blowing the Christmas bows off, and the close up of Santa Claus's face and the wreath, and it looks all creepy, and it's like something magical happened.
The power going out.
The power going out,
which
yeah,
triggers the
yeah.
alarm clock not to go off. So the
Yeah.
family sleeps in, so they're in a rush to get
Yeah.
to the airport. And it's just this set of imperfect circumstances that lines up perfectly for them to abandon one of their
Yeah.
youngest children at their home for the holidays.
Which there is precedent for that, and my mom will be very happy that I'm sharing this story. My mother comes from a family of five children,
Same with my dad.
And well, they went on a road trip, the classic 1950s pack everybody
Station
up
wagon
in the
with
Rambler.
the paneling around it.
Well, my uncle was he was a baby when they went on this trip, and there was actually a point where they woke up one morning, and I think they were running late, and they loaded up the station wagon, and they get everybody in, and they leave the hotel, and they completely forgotten the baby in the hotel room.
Oh dear God, he must have been being very quiet that morning. That's
He's
all I can say.
he's a pretty relaxed. He's a chill guy, But
Learned to be self-reliant at a very young age.
And I said, had the wheels in the car, and yeah, there was motion. The car was moving.
Oh my God!
Before somebody went, where's the baby at?
Well, at least they're not like miles and miles away like Kevin's mom, who doesn't realize until mid-flight to Paris that she left her youngest
Right.
child at home. That's just insane to me. But
Well, they do a head count, and
Yeah.
the neighbor's kid is rummaging around in the van.
which is so funny because I was a little surprised because the kid, I haven't watched this movie in a few years, and the kid just comes up to bother the airport shuttle driver, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Mitch Murphy, I'm the neighbor kid, blah, blah, blah. How many miles per gallon does this van get?" Just asking him the most random questions possible. But I actually had a boyfriend in college of the exact same name, so that surprised me a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, shout out. But yeah, so like I said, it's just a bunch of things that line up, and they do have the oldest child do a head count, like you said, Cece, and along with the power going out and all the chaos that happens, and Mitch is there, and he's the same size and build as Kevin, so she's like, okay, there's Kevin, she's got him, all right, sounds good. And the mom, Catherine O'Hara, turns around, she's like, did you get everybody? She goes, oh yeah, 6 kids, 5 boys, and a partridge in a pear tree, or whatever she says to her mom to be a smart aleck. But the oldest kid took the head count, and back in the 90s, that would have been legit. If the oldest kid was trusted with that, yeah, it was her responsibility to make make sure all the kids were in the damn cars.
Right, yeah.
And obviously, they're in a hurry. If she'd had time, she's somebody who probably would have done it herself. Let me check all of this, but they're on their way to the airport when they're doing this.
And plus, they've had a chaotic night with Kevin pushing his brother Buzz and spilling milk on all their passports and just causing general chaos.
However, I will note the uncle in this is such a jerk.
Oh yeah. He's a complete asshole.
He has
Uncle
this
Frank.
line when that happens. Uncle Frank, look what you did, you little jerk. And I always make a point to my kids. I would never let anyone say that to you.
I wouldn't either.
Because they always look so shocked.
Right. The only person who says that to you is me. You little jerk.
I've earned the privilege.
That would never happen.
But Frank is kind of a tool throughout anyway, because even when they do discover that they've left Kevin at the house, the mom is freaking out. She's like, oh my God, I'm the worst mother ever. And she's having a panic attack.
Yes, you are.
But Frank is sitting there like, oh, it's horrible. Just horrible. I once lost my reading glasses.
Yeah, he's like, if it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading glasses.
Thanks, Frank. That's super helpful.
Yeah, and it is amazing though. I mean, granted, this was a while ago, but it wasn't that. I mean, this movie wasn't made, 70 years ago.
Right.
But you look at the difficulty they have in getting in touch with back home.
Because that's another one of the things that the stars aligned on is that even the power line guy is like, oh, hey, Mrs. McCallister, your power's back up. The electricity's working in the house, but the phones are going to be down for a few days. Everything just lines up perfectly.
Something that would never happen now.
No. And not with cell phones. Like, as long as there's power, you're pretty much good to go. But I don't know. And just, the incredible difficulty they have getting in touch with their neighbors because their neighbors don't have cell phones because it's 1990. They're calling.
Answering machines.
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, Jerry, looking out for you. Your ex-girlfriend's boyfriend's trying to kill you. Oh, this is the voicemail shop, Jerry. We know people just use those for exposition at this point. So,
Yeah.
For all our Rick and Morty people out there.
Yeah.
He even goes downstairs to the kitchen and turns on the TV like he probably does every morning. And the TV is this tiny little TV with
this
the
little
built-in,
8-inch
the
screen
built-in VHS player, like in the kitchen
had
when
one of
everyone
those
had a
and-
TV in the kitchen.
Yep. And you all had to see it from 15 feet away from the dining room table. And somehow we could all see the screen back then because that's what you had. Like,
Well, you didn't know any
just did
better.
that.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
You didn't know any better. When you were a kid, like there was that one family that had the well, at least I know for my generation, there was like the one family you knew who had the proto big screen TV, and it was like a massive thing with the worst picture that you've ever seen.
It was so pixelated because everything was so stretched out.
Yeah, I mean, it was like rear projection and front projection and all this crap, and it's like, how much money did you spend on this pile of crap?
Oh, Jason, I've got to interrupt you right here because this part of the movie reminds me of your son, David. When Kevin goes down into the basement and he's scared of the furnace because your kid specifically asked you that time. He's like, Dad, why are basements so scary? And I was like, because of the furnace in Home Alone.
Yeah,
that's why.
It helps.
But this furnace reminds me kind of the stove in Beauty and the Beast, Cece. I know you know what I'm talking about, where he's like spewing fire and scaring Gaston and all the people storming the castle. But the furnace scared me when I was a kid too, I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to have a furnace like that in my basement. That just looks like the sort of thing that would blow up and burn your house down.
Yeah, precisely.
The beauty of an old house,
Yeah, and it is. The house
is gorgeous.
Yeah, let's talk about the house.
You can see why the wet bandits are casing it.
Yeah.
It's like the governor's mansion, basically.
Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful.
And apparently, it is quite the tourist attraction.
Oh yeah. Well,
really?
In real life, yes.
Well, you think about it. I mean, you could go on a tour of Christmas houses. You could go see this house. You can go see the Lethal Weapon house, which is right next door.
All on the WB lot.
Yeah. Well, the Lethal Weapon house is next door to the Griswolds' house in Christmas Vacation.
I was going to bring that up, but we've ended up recording these out of order. Yes, I did read that in my Christmas Vacation research.
And you can go to the A Christmas Story house. That's open for business.
That's
now.
a real place where one of the kids from Christmas Story is.
Yeah.
Wasn't he working there or something?
You
at
can
some
stay
point?
the night there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he does
It's
tours.
like the Disney Castle. My God. That's the dream.
It's totally better than the Disney Castle. In
Absolutely, it is. Well, you're the Christmas queen, so that makes total sense. And that's one of the many reasons why we have Cece back in the studio, Hindsiders, because she is literally the queen of Christmas. The first Christmas party that I ever got to attend at her house, she was basically in a Dr. Seuss dress, and it was fantastic. It was so Christmas. It was like she lived in Whoville.
We had a snow bubble machine, made bubble snow.
Yes, you did. I remember that, and I was like, I feel lame just in my stupid Christmas sweater. I did not kick it up a notch.
It is amazing to watch this and think this movie made almost $500 million.
Yes, it holds many records, actually.
And it explains why they made sequels, which...
Yes. Well, it leads into a
we
lot.
We do enjoy Home Alone 2 in my house. However,
2 is okay.
I have blocked the third one out of my memory. I'm sure I've seen it at some point.
I don't even know what the plot of the third
recall.
one is.
No,
it's
not worth remembering.
Because after a while, it becomes like it's a different. It's
they
obviously
keep leaving the same
kid
in different locations.
Well, it's him in the sequel. It's still Macaulay Culkin in the sequel, but he's
not
gone
the
after
third
that.
one.
Yeah.
Wisely.
But isn't it still Kevin, or what? Like, is it still the same character?
I thought one of them it ended
idea.
up where it was like a girl, and it's like totally.
I know
totally
President
unrelated.
Trump is in one of them.
He's in
that's all I know.
He's in the second
sequel.
one. Yeah,
The
he's in the
second one.
second
Because it's
one.
in New York. Okay, so
Yeah.
that would make sense given the timeline.
Yeah,
yes.
because
I know that
Kevin,
one just as well. So next
Fair
year.
enough.
Yeah.
Next year when we do Home Alone 2. But yeah, this movie broke so many records. In its opening weekend, you're right, Jason. It made like $17 billion. Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
In 1990.
Imagine that.
17 million, sorry.
This is
This is pre-Dr. Evil.
We could mention also that this is directed by Chris Columbus, the director of the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
And written by John Hughes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
and John Williams did the music.
Yes. So we got 2 Harry Potter
for
names.
success there.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah, and it is the music in this does actually play a fairly important role towards the end.
It does.
Absolutely.
Especially in the church.
I think it is important to the movie
Throughout.
all the way through. The scene where they're all rushing around trying to get to the airport.
Yeah.
It seems like you're listening to the Nutcracker, but that's John Williams.
Oh, it
The
is.
magic
And
of John Williams.
he's one of the few people I know who could actually take Christmas music and alter it and improve it.
Yeah.
Like he sort of put his own spin on Christmas to his own composed music in this movie, and you just hear his personality in every single note. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're at a very important part of the movie right now. So when Kevin first realizes that his family is gone, in his little 8-year-old naivete, he thinks, "Oh, my wish for my family to disappear really happened." And at first he's like, "Oh, I made my family disappear." But then 2 seconds later, he's like, "I made my family disappear," and he's all excited about it. He can eat junk food and watch whatever movie he
what
wants.
what every 8-year-old would do, run through the halls being
Yeah.
as loud as they can, making a huge mess.
And he's being such a little jerk about it, to be honest, because he's like, hey, Buzz, I'm going through your private collection of nudie magazines. Better come out and pound me.
Well, the funny thing is, it's like he almost thinks it's still a joke. Like he can't possibly
the reality
be real.
hasn't set in until he watches. I know you know the name of this movie.
Angels with Filthy Souls.
Yes.
The iconic gangster movie he watches.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Well, and it's interesting that he doesn't go outside to see if everyone else is gone.
No,
right away.
he does
Did he
go
do it
outside
early
at first
on?
because and this was very logical. And throughout the movie, he's this incredibly self-sufficient, organized 8-year-old. That one of the first, because if I was his age, I would have been afraid to go outside with no signs of life anywhere in my house when previously there were like 20 people there.
Right, yeah.
But Kevin runs into the driveway and he's like, well, the cars are still here. Clearly they didn't go to the airport. And my little 8-year-old brain would never piece that together. I would have been too worried and too scared about what was going on with my family.
Yeah, ditto. But this kid is super, super clever.
He is.
Totally underestimated and underappreciated.
It's almost like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes came to life.
Yeah.
Minus the stuffed tiger. Because of all the little different things that he does, and he takes advantage of, like sledding down the stairs in his toboggan and watching all these crazy movies and eating all the junk food in the house.
That's why this is my kid. At 8 years old.
Honestly, I can see it. I know her
He'd
little
be
boy
super
does.
excited. I can do whatever I want.
But that's the difference, though. If they made this movie today and it was realistic, the kid would go, "Yes, I've got the whole house to myself," and sit on the couch and play video games.
And the whole house is self-sustaining.
Yeah.
The mom has the fridge stocked, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because in this story, like Kevin he takes himself to the grocery store. He runs errands. He does laundry. It's so. I know men in their 20s who don't know how to do their own laundry.
Well, the captain is doing everything he can. Your phones are still out. Could you maybe call someone in authority in the town, for God's sake?
Which, as a
I mean,
pilot, he would have priority clearance for something like that, so he's gonna get through.
or he could call, like, hey, O'Hare Airport. This is
Yeah.
the pilot. Hey, here's the situation, guys.
It's
Get in
obviously a
touch.
bigger
Yeah.
deal to them than it is to anyone else.
Yeah,
No, everyone's
know.
like, okay.
Your kid's at home, all right, there's not a whole lot we can do. And I love the amount of, sorry, there's nothing we can do about this, like from every other, because these days, if you told somebody that their kid was missing, people are going to go out of their way to help you, especially if they're in any position of authority.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let me get so-and-so on the phone. Let me try this. But no, it's like all on the parents trying to track down where their poor kid is.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Well, and that, there's so many theories about how you make this movie make sense.
Yeah, you've got to wedge
Use
in.
your imagination.
kind
Kind of like a horror movie where if people acted the logical way, there wouldn't be a story.
Well, there's one theory that the plane actually crashed.
Oh, God.
And that
Another conspiracy
No,
theory.
is that the plane crashed, and the reason that everything is so absurdly obstructing to them trying to check on their kid is because the mom is in purgatory, and she has
she's
to
being
make it
punished,
right.
basically.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is just
Yeah.
way too much.
Yeah,
That's deep.
She has to make it right.
That's profound.
Yeah, and then it ends up being that finally John Candy is like an angel, and it's like, okay.
And speaking of John Candy, did you know his character in this movie is based off his character from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
Oh, is it supposed to be the same character?
They're based off at the very least. Yeah, and plus, without without Uncle
like
Buck,
that.
this movie would not have been made. Like Uncle Buck was because Macaulay Culkin that was his first exposure to Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus saw Macaulay Culkin, and the part for Home Alone was written for Macaulay Culkin. Now, that being said, they still auditioned like over 100 kids to be Kevin McCallister.
Well, because everyone's got to interview.
Oh,
We know that. Now he had some stuff going for him. He had worked with Chris Columbus in the past.
you have that advantage, Jason.
yes.
You sure
he
do.
had that advantage.
So listeners, we're not bitter about personal matters at all. Don't
No,
worry
no,
about it. This has nothing to do with any of you. But yeah, John Candy does actually play a bit of a role because without Uncle Buck, this movie probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah,
because,
good old John Candy.
Yeah, because Macaulay Culkin was his nephew in Uncle Buck, where they made the huge pancakes.
One thing though, when I watch this movie, is it does make me miss Daniel Stern, because
Remind me
Daniel Stern really hasn't done that much. I mean, he's been, he has a career, he's done stuff.
Remind me, who is that? Marv?
The other
the tall wet
the
bandit.
other wet
Marv.
bandit.
Yeah, Harry's Joe Pesci,
Yeah.
and then Marv. Okay, is Stern. Okay.
Joe Pesci, who the entire movie they had to keep telling him not to say the word fuck.
Yeah, and Joe Pesci was a bit of a creeper as far as like he went really method with Macaulay Culkin on this whole deal. He didn't want to meet Macaulay Culkin before they started filming together because he wanted to be able to legitimately intimidate him in their scenes where he's trying to scare him and torture him and stuff.
I gotta say, of the serious actors who have taken a role in this kind of children's / Christmas themed movie, he like hit the nail on the success
Oh
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
he completely.
Unlike Arnold Schwarzenegger or tough
know-
guys of the past who've tried to be in family Christmas movies after a serious career.
Yeah, people don't remember. Joe Pesci. We all think of him. I think most people think of him as the tough gangster movie sort of character. But I mean, he was in My Cousin Vinny,
Yes.
Goodfellas.
Genius.
Well, no, I mean comedy roles.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
Genius in that role,
My,
too.
My Cousin Vinny, the 2 of the Lethal Weapons, or was he in?
He wasn't in the first one.
No, he wasn't in the first
he was-
one. I know he was in
at
2 and
least
3.
two of them. Yeah,
And then there was that 4th one that nobody saw.
right.
With like Jet Li was in it. Or
Well, and it's
something.
funny that Joe Pesci got this because Robert De Niro turned down the part for Harry. Actually,
Really? Probably for the best.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think Joe Pesci really just kills it in this role. It was perfect to the point where when they hang Kevin up on the coat hanger at the end, apparently he actually bit Macaulay Culkin's finger and broke his skin when he bit him. So
Wow,
Macaulay
that's,
Culkin's got a bad run with a lot of
Yeah.
adults in Hollywood, as much as he
intense.
will
Yeah.
attest otherwise.
He did conquer the F word, though, at the end with the swearing every time he gets hurt. He does do a pretty creative job of swearing, but not swearing.
Yeah,
Well, and
Chris
he's-
Columbus wanted him to say the word fridge.
Yeah, fridge.
Yeah. Friggin' fridge. Yeah.
And even Marv has a slip up during the point when he loses his shoe through the doggy door toward the end. And this was an actual slip up. It wasn't like a somewhat scripted thing. He lost a shoe and he's like, oh shit. And you can kind of hear it if you listen for it. But they don't make a big deal out of it. They just
Yeah.
rush right past it. And I have to point this out because we're at the point where Kevin's mom is calling the local authorities, just trying to get a cruiser to go past
Yeah.
her house. And that's pretty standard, I would feel. But the cops are like, I'm sorry. You want us to go check on your 8-year-old who's stranded at your home by himself? They think she's making such a big deal out of it. But that is Mr. Heckles in the
Yes.
in the home department from Friends, the one who thinks that Rachel and Monica are always making noise.
Oh.
You're disturbing my birds.
Such a good actor, like a bit actor. And this part is genius. How
Larry
he,
Hankin.
the donut, he's eating a donut and a piece of
stuck
it
to-
just
yeah, it
sticks to the phone and
Yeah.
he just keeps going. Like,
How old were you when you first saw this movie?
I definitely would have been single digits because it came out in 1990.
Yeah, it was 90.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Were either of you born in 1990?
yeah, I was
Okay.
7.
Okay. All right.
So
Well,
I was born in the 80s, so yes.
Here's the thing that, and I don't know why this stuck out the last time I watched this, but when you see the police cars, it is amazing to me to think that that's what the police cars looked like.
Right?
That's not like from the 50s. Like that's, I remember police cars that looked like that, but they look so damn old.
Yeah,
They
they
do.
do.
So old fashioned.
but that was a regular thing
Yeah.
when we were little.
Well, the police department is just treating Catherine O'Hara like she's just this high maintenance woman. They're even
Hyper.
nickname her. Yeah, they nickname her Hyper on Lime too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, she's just overreacting. This silly.
Well,
kid
she
of
does
hers.
kind of give Americans a bad name by like ripping the phone out of a French woman's hand.
She does.
right
She's
when
very
she gets
ugly
to the
American.
airport.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when she gets off the plane. Yeah.
Because again, like they flew American and she couldn't have gone to like, the first thing you do when you get off the plane. Because apparently the airlines just said, well, we tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just
And
let the
then
anchor
they
drop.
just left. It's
Same
like-
with the policeman in Kevin's town, because all he does is bang on the front door. He doesn't like look around
No.
the property. He's not thorough at all.
No.
He just bangs on the door and no, there's nobody here. Stop taking prank calls or whatever he says.
See,
to
if
the
this happened
Go
today,
count your kids again.
yeah. If this happened today, there'd be 5 SWAT vehicles and 2 helicopters over the house.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would go totally the other direction with
And
it.
Catherine O'Hara
Yeah.
would already be in custody for having left her
Oh
child.
yeah, no, she's going to jail. Her and Dad are both going to jail.
Absolutely.
They're losing the kids, Which maybe
Yep.
that was the plot. Maybe they were so fed up with their irritating kids. It's like,
I mean, if not in this movie, then the second.
Yeah.
In the
They
second
continually
movie,
lose
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
strikes and you're out. We're not even going to 3.
Wait,
Oops,
wait.
actually, we did this last year.
yeah, well,
It's becoming a Christmas tradition, officer.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
it's almost like our lives are caught in some horrible nightmare world where every year we have this, this adventure that's probably very entertaining for other people to watch. And I just love how Dad in this movie
He's
is
cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's fine.
You're
Yeah,
like-
it's a safe house. What's going to happen? I mean, what's he going to do? Fall down the stairs,
At the-
choke to death?
And-
I mean,
At
These
the
were
end,
not-
when he comes home, he's just like, "Oh yeah, hi Kevin. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're all right." Like he knew it was going to be okay all along.
Well,
Yeah.
even like his older brother Buzz, who has the very important tarantula in the terrarium at the house, who we haven't mentioned. But Buzz is so horrible to his little brother Kevin. In my opinion, he's the meanest of all the
Oh, yeah.
McCallisters.
He
Yeah.
says my kid's favorite line.
What's that?
I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
yeah.
Of course, that's your children's
Oh my
favorite
god. Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
They
I
live
love
for
it.
that line.
That's fantastic because I bet that's they're allowed to quote that line because it's
Yeah.
y'all's special movie.
Yeah.
So, but Buzz is so mean. Even when they get to Paris, Buzz's sister is. Oh, you aren't worried about Kevin at all? Because all the kids are super mean to him in the beginning. Like, Kevin, you are such a disease. You were what the French call les incompetents. Like, they're so mean to him.
Yeah.
But then the sister at least kind of reverses that role in Paris. She's like, you aren't the least bit worried that something might happen to Kevin. And Buzz is like, well, first of all, I'm not that lucky. So no. Second of all, he's such a little twerp. He deserves to live in the real world for a few days. It's like, how old are you, Buzz? Like 14?
Yeah,
How much
exactly.
time have you spent?
Well,
in the
and
real
that I think is pretty clear evidence that the family itself is just a horrible family. It's like a little. This is just a glimpse into the McCallisters.
Just a little dysfunctional, yeah.
What has their life been like leading up to this?
Yeah, no wonder he gets abandoned every Christmas. It's
He
probably
starved
his-
for attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here he gets back at Buzz because he's climbing the shelves in his room to steal his money.
Yep. Well, because he needs food, and he's surprisingly self-sufficient. He's like, I've got to go to the grocery store. How do I get money?
What was Buzz's plan with the spider? Was he just going to let the spider die?
No,
He
they
fed it a
mentioned
load
that.
of mice guts before he left.
Yeah, he specifically
Yeah.
says that in the
Oh,
beginning
okay.
because one of the cousins is like, isn't your spider going to get hungry? And he goes, no, I just fed him a load of mice guts. He should be good for a couple of weeks.
So Buzz he's going to be a serial killer. That's where we're headed.
Yeah, because
You
Buzz is
know.
nicer to his pet tarantula than he is to his little brother.
Yeah,
And,
Well,
and I doubt he went to the pet store to get the guts.
and you don't tend to feed guts directly, I don't think, to animals. You let them...
in my experience,
Tell us about it. That's-
relatively few times I've fed mouse guts to a pet.
Well, that's
you
why
know.
I think I could never have a pet like a snake or a spider or something that's
No,
going to kill another animal in front of me,
No.
like to eat. And I know that's the circle
Yeah.
of life, but I don't want a pet that's going to.
I don't want to watch it
No,
regularly.
no, I
Yeah.
do not.
Well, you just train it to be a vegetarian.
Yeah. Well, he sets forth in motion though by knocking over the tarantula cage.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
subplot of
There's
the
payoff.
tarantula's
There's payoff
journey
for it, yep.
through
That's the setup.
through the movie.
because he does put the tarantula on Marv's face when the wet bandits break into his house, and that actually happened.
Yeah.
They really put that spider on Stern's face, but the scream that he emits in the shot is not real because they didn't want to alarm the spider. while it was up.
really?
Yeah, he had to mime screaming
The
because
scream to end all screams.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. The scream to end all screams for me would have been when my foot settled down on that nail on the stairs.
Oh,
My
yeah.
God, I cringe
Yeah,
every time I see
that's
that.
the one. Yeah, stepping on the nail is the one that because the spider thing.
Yeah, I pretty much cover my eyes every time he goes to step on that nail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's awful. But
Well, and let's talk about the fact that the Wet Bandits, the amount of physical trauma that
Yeah,
they
I was just
endure
about-
in
yep.
this movie, no human being who is not supernatural could survive one paint can to the head. I'm sorry, you're dead.
Oh, no,
You're
they
dead. You're going to the hospital. Your brain is scrambled.
they looked into this. Dr. Ryan St. Clair diagnosed the likely outcome of all the injuries of the Wet Bandits back in the day, saying that basically just the iron that hit one of them in the face could have caused a blowout fracture, which would have led to serious disfigurement and debilitating double vision if not repaired properly. And the blowtorch Also, according to Dr. St. Clair, the skin and the bone tissue on Harry's skull would be so damaged and rotted that his skull bone would be essentially dying and he'd need a transplant.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Like some severe, like they would not have survived this noise at all.
Well, and the amazing thing about them is that they're so motivated. That
Oh, yeah. Well, just the attempts to get in the house because they fall down the stairs and crack their heads like 40 times and
Right.
they just get more and more angry. Oh, I'm going to
And
kill
what
this
do they
damn
just get
kid.
pissed?
Yeah.
And what are they going to steal? What is really in there that they're going to be able to go and take somewhere and sell that's going to get them?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Antiques.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have like, the McCallister gold bar collection down in the basement.
They seem to be under that impression though, because when they're casing the street, when they do that kind of iconic scene where they're sitting there and Joe Pesci's like, okay, this house is going to light up at 6:37 p.m. and they all light up at exactly the time he says because he's done a really thorough job casing the street. But he's like, oh yeah, stereos, jewelry, like safes. Like it's
Yeah.
like Batman's house. Like he thinks he's
Right,
It's like
yeah.
the richest house in the neighborhood, according to Joe Pesci. So they've got big expectations of this B&E.
I love this scene after he accidentally steals a toothbrush from the drugstore
Yes.
because he's so scared of the old man Marley. Is that his name?
Old Man Marley. Yep.
Who lives next door.
And the whole rumor about Old Man Marley is because Buzz, the horrible older brother, he said, yeah, Old Man Marley went ballistic and killed his whole family and half the street with that snow shovel and that big trash can of salt that he has. That's where he puts all the bodies. It turns them into mummies.
Yeah.
It's just some little kid BS.
They so believe him.
I love that word though, case. Like when you're casing the joint, because it's one of those words in the English language that nobody knows where it came from.
Do tell.
No, I mean that's it. Nobody knows.
Oh, great story.
Nobody knows.
Yeah,
like
great story, bro.
people use it. They say it all the time. It has no one can point to. Oh, well, this is where that came from.
Well, normally
It's a complete
one of
mystery.
us can answer that. Like on one of our previous episodes, Emperor's New Groove, Jason asked if anybody knew the plural of octopus, and I immediately pipe up with octopodes. So I thought you actually had an answer to that. So I was excited, but now I guess I'm just gonna have to do some research and find out on my own.
No, the
Darn it.
the only theory is that because a case is something you would put a jewel in or something like that. That casing would mean to like look at it like from all sides to see if there was a way to get in, but they don't know. It's just this thing that appeared in the English language, and
Maybe you
nobody
should
knows.
ask one of your supernatural beings. They can answer that question for you. But Cece, what were you saying about he's so scared of Old Man Marley that Kevin runs away from him and the scene after that?
Oh, I was just going to say that it's such a big deal they make over him stealing a toothbrush
A
that the
single
cop
toothbrush.
who's pulling over somebody for speeding has to just give up on that and chase Kevin
Chase
through
an
the ice
8-year-old.
skating rink.
Well, the cop doesn't know what Kevin has stolen, to be fair, but it's this elaborate setup for that, where Kevin's even pestering the little clerk at the store, and he's like, "Is this approved by the American Dental Association?" Because the first time the Wet Bandits try to break into Kevin's house, he hides under the bed, and then he really mans up. He's like, "You know what? This is my house, and I'm not going to let people scare me. It's time for me to be a grown-up." So he's like, "I took a really good shower and washed everywhere, and I'm clean, and I'm doing my hair with adult shampoo." And then, the classic aftershave where he smacks his cheeks and screams.
Yeah.
He's trying really hard to be a self-sufficient adult. It's all set up for why he goes to get the toothbrush. Calm down, you ass. So, he's like, the only thing I don't have is a toothbrush, and I can take care of that today. So
Why does he not have toothbrush?
I don't know, Werner Herzog.
Is family poor? They have no toothbrush.
My theory is that he saw a commercial for
that's
toothbrushes approved by the American Dental Association.
At least
and
4
he
out of
had
5.
to have one.
4 out of 5 dentists approve this. But yeah, so it's his responsible adult task for him to go out and get a toothbrush. But then the irony is that he winds up stealing it.
That's
Yeah.
what I want is I want an audio commentary of this movie by Werner Herzog. Here we see the mother. She is desperate to find her youngest child. Is he dead? She does not know.
Is she in purgatory?
Has the plane crashed?
And we
is
find
she
out
dead?
that Harry and Marv are both Highlander because they won't go into a church to
Right,
look
it's
for
holy
Kevin.
ground.
They won't go into hallowed ground to go look for their enemies.
Yes.
They're both Highlander.
Well, they're like children themselves.
Well, Harry in particular is because when they're casing one of the other houses on the street, Harry's like, "Hey, you think they've got toys in there?"
Yeah.
And it's like, of all the things that you could make money off of, toys are not one of them.
Well, it is fairly realistic because in reality, most criminals are pretty stupid. you know. So it's
Bye,
what, did we,
criminals.
yeah, we just
Bye.
lost the criminal
We're not-
segment.
The people who stole phones to listen to this podcast are not listening to us anymore.
No,
Jason.
there are no people in prison listening on butt phones. Are not.
Well, Australia is
That's it,
entirely
I'm out.
made up of
Entirely
criminals,
people of
and
criminals.
that's entirely making up your audience.
They're
so.
not made up of criminals. All their ancestors were criminals.
Oh,
Come on
thanks for
now.
clearing that up.
According to
Okay.
Wallace Shawn, not us.
You're not a criminal. Your mama's a criminal.
Just for the record, I was quoting Princess Bride. I don't really think that about Australia.
They're proud of it. Come on, they love it.
They're not worried about our smack talk. I think they enjoy it. Oh, but
Here
yeah,
we see Kevin going completely insane. He has
So-
lost touch
Creating
with
his company.
reality, and he
I-
makes his own.
I once thought that this was like, not when I was a kid, but when Xavier was real little, and I watched this again after not watching it for like 10 years.
sure.
I thought, oh, this is the most ridiculous scene. An 8-year-old could never think this up. But once again, that my child, my second
Your
son,
kid could. Yeah.
definitely at 8 years old, will be creating pulley systems and
I don't know, I
playing
think either
tricks
of
on
your boys could
elaborate
do it,
tricks
really.
on people.
Well, and that to give the listeners some edification, we're at the scene now where Marv and Harry are back at the house once again, casing the joint, and Kevin has created this elaborate ruse of like cardboard cutouts of Michael Jordan and dummies that his family I can't say the word.
Inexplicitly.
Inexplicably.
Yeah, whatever.
Judicial
I've had less,
system.
Judicial system.
Judicial system. Bunch of assholes.
Inexplicably have
Bunch of
dummies.
assholes enjoying their Christmas.
Oh yeah,
the family. They're
Uncle
all
Frank
just
is handing out shrimp cocktail, and
Yeah.
Frank, those are for later. No, he's just handing them out to the kids.
Well, you see, because in reality, Kevin is actually Frank's son. And you see, he's hoping that this will clear up a little problem for him. So, this might be,
That's
this might be
another theory, huh?
convenient for
All
him.
the conspiracy theories.
Sure, hope not.
But yeah, so Kevin does inexplicably have all these dummies and cardboard cutouts in his house, and he sets up
What
these.
are his parents into?
Yeah, you gotta wonder.
She sews. They're sewing mannequins.
Not one of
okay?
them. She's like she's. I don't know.
They've built up to this. There are props in the basement.
Small
There's
appliances.
an old sewing
Marital
machine up in the
aids.
bedroom.
No, we're not
That kind of basement.
We're not at the guest party. This is a totally different experience. But yeah, so Kevin does have these elaborate pulleys and stuff, and he's got, I think the Michael Jordan cutout is on a little model train, and it makes him look like he's walking around the house.
Something else is attached to a turntable.
It's so elaborate. And he's pulling all these strings, and it makes people look like they're playing cards at a table. It's insane. So that deters the wet bandits for another night. And you find out that they are the wet bandits because
Little
Marv
heroes.
likes to stuff the sinks and leave the water running.
Yeah.
Which Harry has a problem with, just not the B&Es that they commit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that's going too far.
Yeah.
Criminals have a code, man. They
Hey,
got a code.
pirates have a code too. They don't stick to it though.
Why didn't the delivery guy call the cops?
I don't know. When he thinks he's being shot at with a semi-automatic weapon, yeah.
I love how it's Little Nero's because at the time, Little
'cause
Caesars
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like king of pizza.
Pizza. Yeah.
Is Little Caesar still around?
Yes.
Oh
It
yeah,
is still around?
yeah. There's
Yeah,
one
there's
across
one
the
right
street
there.
from my neighborhood.
We had pizza. We had Little Caesars last time Cece was in the studio.
Oh, did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh.
You know what's so funny is they're actually cheaper now than they are in this movie.
Yeah,
in
because they used to be
1990.
there didn't used to be the kind of high quality choice of pizza all over the place like there is
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So Little Caesars had us thinking that it was worth $10 instead of the
Yeah.
$5 or so that you
Yeah,
pay for it
now
now.
it's $5.
Yeah, have you seen that Feces Pizza has rebranded itself now?
What?
Feces. I'm sorry. No, what do they? You guys call it Cece's. Sorry.
Poor Cece. Were you
No.
waiting to say that? Like just
No.
because Cece's here?
No, that's a running that's been a running gag with my friends for many years.
Gotcha.
Is because
Well,
it's
any-
the worst pizza
Well, and
on
it's-
earth.
He doesn't know me well
Pizza.
enough to make jokes about
To set
me
up a
yet.
kind of elaborate
No.
Yeah,
plot like that.
that would be pretty elaborate.
One day I will know someone.
That was Kevin McCallister elaborate. That's what that
Yeah.
was.
No, the joke that I do is the CC Rider joke
Oh, right.
because I always got a CC Rider.
But-
the song. You don't know that?
No, I don't.
That's
I know the song.
amazing. It's your name. You don't, oh, okay.
Well, it's like how people
don't know.
always sing that stupid Aerosmith, Jade, you're so jaded at me. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I've never heard that before. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But you mentioned running gags in this movie a minute ago, Cece. Another one is the fact that the pizza guy continuously runs over the lawn jockey in the front.
Crashes into the lawn jockey every
it's-
single time.
It's not even really a lawn jockey. It's just this really large metal statue that they keep in front of their stairs. But yeah, he smacks into it every single time, and you would think that it would damage his car.
It's little
so
details like that make this movie
fantastic.
a classic.
Is that Wilford Brimley?
No, no, it's not. It's
The
not.
couple in the
no.
airport?
No, the woman is from something though. I recognize
Is
her
she?
from other things.
I would have taken her offer.
They do.
No, but I mean, I would no begging. As soon as she got to the, 2 first class tickets, $500. Yeah, I'm in.
Well, maybe that's
you
why
know?
they had to. That's where they had to humanize Catherine O'Hara, because she left the baby at the house,
She'll do anything to get back to him.
and she does have that pitiful moment, like,
Yeah.
please, a mother to a mother, please, like,
Yeah.
let me have your plain taste. So I think they try to humanize her a little bit right there.
That right there, him sitting up watching Johnny Carson, when I was a kid, that was like the grown up thing.
Yeah.
Because it was after you had to go to bed.
Yep.
When I was a kid, my parents had in their bedroom, they had a TV that was in front of their bed, but it was also up high. And over their bed was a picture that had a very, it was just normal glass.
Right.
And it reflected the TV perfectly. And so at night, I would sneak out of my room and I would sneak across the hall.
And look at the
And
reflection.
I would watch the reflection and watch the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
That's
and
cute.
a lot of my jokes.
No,
a
you've
lot of-
never made a Johnny Carson
No,
joke.
I mean that's
I don't
like
believe that.
that's where it comes from,
That classic humor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I totally see it.
Yeah, yeah, he was the best.
Oh, and yet another running gag, because Kevin just does not seem to understand the cause and effect of aftershave stinging his little 8-year-old cheeks.
But it's so grown up.
It
you
is.
know?
And I
So
think that's
grown
what
up.
he's going for. He's sleeking his hair back, kind of Don Draper-ish, and he's even using spray
Yeah.
deodorant and stuff.
Back when people used aftershave.
By the way, did anyone notice he sleeps in his parents' bed like the
the entire
time?
time. Yeah.
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 It's
As-
his little security blanket, I
yeah,
think.
and then
Yeah.
he's looking longingly at a picture of his family, even though
Well, we should.
It's part of his character
We
arc.
should
Yeah.
probably talk about, I guess, the point of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is that he thinks he's gotten his wish. It's be careful what you wish for, you might get it.
Right.
yeah.
And he gets this. Oh, great, my family's gone. I'm all by myself. This is exactly
Yeah.
what I wanted. Oh wait, it sucks. And I really want my family back.
Well, and there's part of that naive childhood, perspective where you take for granted how much your parents do for you.
Oh, yeah.
Until, even in the beginning, the first example of that is Kevin's aunt or something says, "Go pack your suitcase," and it paralyzes him because he's like, and he's trying to get his brother and sister to help him. Like, I've never packed a suitcase in my life. I don't know how to do that, and it's just like his Everest.
Yeah.
But then his parents are gone. He's got to learn how to grocery shop, he just suddenly knows how to do laundry. I wonder how he really successfully pulled that off.
Well, there's lots of themes in this movie. One is him discovering that he knows how to do more things than he thinks he does.
Right.
Yeah.
Overcoming fears, the furnace, the old guy
Yes.
next door,
Yes.
the
All
criminals.
those groceries were less than $20.
Back in 1990.
Holy shit! The milk is $20 now.
And one of the funniest parts of this when he's at the grocery store. Oh, wait, I've got a coupon for that.
Yeah.
It's so damn cute. And the lady at the register is like, where are your parents? What are you doing? And back in the 90s, you could pull off this kind of thing. Like, oh, my mom's out in the car waiting for me. She just sent me in for you could say something like that to
People
another
were
adult.
completely
Yeah.
oblivious.
Yeah.
They didn't notice we were so busy with the Nirvanas and the Pogs, and we didn't have time.
He's so quick-witted. He's like, I can't tell you where I live.
Where's your dad? Out of town. Where's your mom? Oh, she's at work. Oh, where do you live? I can't tell you that. Why? Because you're a stranger.
that shuts
I always-
her up real quick.
I love how he delivered that line when he's so tiny. He was
Wow.
in his first play, Macaulay Culkin, when he was 4 years old.
So back in the 90s, then you could have a super, super nice house, really beautiful house, very well decorated, but your washer and dryer were crap.
Yes.
It's just like it.
Hey, I mean, that's what they were
Yeah,
back then.
like people didn't go and get like $5,000 washer and dryers.
No, and plus
that
it was-
concept hadn't been invented yet.
And plus, it was still somewhat of a new concept. You had to be that rich to have the space for a washer and dryer where you lived in a lot of places. The laundromats hats were still a really popular concept,
I
even in the
grew-
early
Yeah.
90s.
I grew up in the country. We had them.
Well, you had to though,
Yeah.
but see,
Yeah.
that's out of necessity. Down south, I understand that, but like if you live in an urban environment, which they're in Chicago,
Yeah.
you had
Some
to have a big
suburb
enough
of
house.
Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to have, and all of this was actually filmed in Chicago. None of it happened in Paris. None of that on location in another country.
they
It was
used
all
to.
in Chicago.
They used to do. Chicago used to be a place that showed up in movies a lot in the late '80s, early '90s. You got a lot of Chicago movies. I mean the Griswolds are in Chicago.
Yep.
You know, there was all, and it's weird. Chicago just sort of fell off the map.
Well, they wrote Devil in the White City. That got published. And then,
yeah.
then it fell
Yeah.
off the map. People learned about Chicago.
Yeah.
But and now some more elaborate ruses. So yeah, Kevin scares the pizza guy with the, what was the movie, Cece? The filthy...
Angels with Filthy Souls.
Angels with Filthy Souls, yeah. And like you said,
Wait,
Jason...
Ferris Bueller's in Chicago too. They're all in
Yeah,
Chicago.
4,000 restaurants in
Yeah.
the downtown area.
That's right, yeah.
I picked the one my
That
father
was
goes
the
to.
thing.
Yeah, they're definitely in Chicago. But I've never correlated. But and John Hughes is the connecting road between
maybe that's
maybe it's a John Hughes
Yeah,
thing.
maybe it's a John Hughes thing. He just likes Chicago.
between Ferris Bueller and Home Alone for sure. But
Imagine how painful whenever he puts the whatever the hell it is, the hot thing on the doorknob.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, what is that?
Yeah,
thing?
why did they have that?
It's a thing you plug in that gets very hot.
I think it was
hooks
on
onto
like
stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was on a grill or something that
Like-
he took off. He had heated it. I don't know.
I mean, I was thinking, like, is it for starting like a fire in your fireplace, or because it looks to me like it comes in a how to burn your house down kit.
It's almost like an old timey bread toaster that they used back in the 1860s,
mystery
stuffing
Yeah.
the bread in
Yeah.
the actual hearth
Yeah.
to make toast. So I don't really know what they would still be doing with that. But
This is such an iconic scene where he is mouthing the words to Angels with Filthy Souls.
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's gained
Yeah.
his confidence now that he's doing the same prank on Marv, who gets bullied by Harry to go break into the house and keep the change, you filthy animal, like, and pretends to
Here we
shoot him.
see Kevin learning the lessons that violence is the answer.
But another little a payoff is when he steals the firecrackers from his brother Buzz's Hurt Locker in his room. It was that, yeah, and he was like, okay, I'm stealing the money. That's cool. I got Buzz's stash. Ooh, firecrackers. I'm going to keep these for later. But then they really pay off for him when Marv is trying to break into the house again, and he scares him off thinking that he's being chased by a semi-automatic weapon. And nobody,
Fools him every time.
yeah, nobody, well, not every time. First it's the pizza guy, and then it's Marv.
No, I mean, the pizza guy and Marv. That's
Oh,
what I meant.
it works like a charm.
Works like a charm.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's just
But
so.
but ultimately, you talk about payoff.
Oh yeah.
The whole movie is setting up the final sequence
Well, and
and the
what's-
payoff.
What's great about that is that it's such a long movie for a kids movie, and there's so much setup that I'm kind of amazed that
It's
this
not
movie.
really a kids movie though.
In a way, it is because
I kind of enjoy it more as an adult than I
Yeah.
even did as a kid.
well, see, that's the point of this podcast. You discover whether you like it more or less as an adult.
I've definitely watched it more as an adult probably not
That's
just
true.
because of my kids.
That's true.
I
I think my
just enjoy
parents.
it.
Yeah, my parents were the one to be like, "Hey, Home Alone, you guys like this?" When I was a kid, and
Yeah,
you
because
know,
they wanted to watch it.
yeah. Oh, maybe.
Now you know.
Oh
Yeah.
my god. Because hindsight is horrifying.
There you go.
That's the name of the show.
I mean, parents always want to, watch the things that they don't mind watching instead of the other things.
Yeah.
That they do
Yeah.
mind watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. yeah. Let's watch Home Alone again, please.
Absolutely. That movie has substance and John Candy.
But the
But payoff, you were
yeah,
talking
the payoff
about, Jason.
because you do get the the whole sequence at the end with the wet bandits being tortured, and we all know how all that goes, and that really is I know
You can
there-
almost breeze through it. As enjoyable as it is to maybe sit down with your kids and to
that's-
watch for our purposes,
yeah.
you don't have to watch every second of it
Right.
to remember all of it. Yeah.
yeah.
Very true. So, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this guy at the airport the same guy who plays the Santa that Kevin goes to see at the end?
I can kind of see it.
Because I kind of think it every single time, but
I'm not
I've never
sure.
actually looked it up.
They do have a similar look because, when Kevin goes to see that, rip
The
off
fake
Santa,
Santa, yeah.
he does, like, the beard is all off, and it does kind of look like the same guy.
I'd
But-
be interested to know.
Yeah, because and that's one of Kevin's bigger character arcs is when he does go to see the fake Santa. you see him wishing for his family back. He doesn't want a skateboard. He doesn't want a Nintendo or anything fancy like that. He's like, I really just want my family back. Mostly my mom and my dad, even my brother and my sister. Hell, even my Uncle Frank. That'll be good. Like,
if you have time.
If you have time. If not, don't worry about it, because Uncle Frank is a tool. But I did like that they didn't do that typical Santa, buzz off, kid. I'm off my shift. Leave me alone. I gotta be
yeah.
He was saying, okay, well, Santa's got a party that he's got to get to, but what do you need? And then he's like, hey, I think my elf took all of the candy canes home to her boyfriend, but hang on. He searches his pockets, gives him a couple of Tic Tacs to take home. He's like, everybody who comes to see Santa should get a little something. I loved that. I don't know why that moment always stuck with me. But not the Tic Tacs, just the fact that he was so nice to him. He wasn't like, buzz off, screw you, kid.
Most kids probably, like you said, ask for material things, and he just wants his family back. You can see his facial expression.
I obviously can't make that wish come true, so here's some mints.
So, Kevin comes full circle, though.
He does.
Really,
he's the protagonist.
Yeah, he is. And
does that make Marley the supernatural antagonist?
I don't really know. I think it's more of a man versus nature thing almost.
Yeah, because there's no real direct...
Yeah.
I mean, I guess...
well, so many things wouldn't have happened if he didn't have such a bitchy resting face.
Yeah.
That old guy. Why does he look at him like that?
Turns out to be the sweetest guy ever. Oh, and
Just
he's
calm down.
He's got the big bloody bandaged hand when he comes in and when he does scare Kevin at the
Slams
store.
it down.
Slams it down on a glass case, and it's like, hey,
Like,
bleeding through your bandage
calm
there.
down, dude. It's Christmas.
And you come to find he's got his own kind of character arc that Kevin helps him with. Because they talk in the church and Old Man Marley's there. The only time he's allowed to see his granddaughter is to watch her at choir practice at church. And he and Kevin talk for a minute, and Kevin's like, why don't you talk to your son anymore? He said, well, we had words a long time ago, and I said I didn't want to see him anymore. And they had a fight, and blah, blah, blah. And Kevin's like, I don't know how mad I could ever be that I wouldn't want to talk to my dad. And they just sort of push each other in the right direction, at least in that one little moment.
Yeah.
And that's not, responsible for Kevin's entire story arc, but I do feel like it's a big part of it.
Ultimately, the best thing these parents ever did for Kevin was leave him home by himself.
Well,
taught him tactical skills that no other 8-year-old possesses.
Yeah.
Like,
he discovered his own strength and worth and conquered his fears.
Even in this moment that we just saw where Kevin's decorating his own little tree, I'm like, my dad used to keep the Christmas decorations in a place where only dad could get them. They're up in the attic. You need a ladder. You need physical
he slept
strength
up in the
to get
attic,
them.
so he's familiar with it.
It's an actual room, so with stairs, so he can get
he's
up
not
there.
afraid of the basement anymore.
Right,
He's
he
a
has
man.
access to the whole house.
But he's so stealthy because he notices the reflection of the wet bandit staring at him through the mirror in the reflection of he's like you, Jason. He's really into reflections.
Yeah. Kids are very observant.
They are. But he's decorating he's trying to make the house feel like Christmas despite the fact that his family's not there. And this is one thing that I get upon subsequent viewing, as you like to point out, Jason, is I always thought it was really funny. There's a meme floating out there on Facebook where it says, Alien versus Kevin McCallister, who would win? And somebody commented, how much prep time does Kevin get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But what kills me is when I rewatched this movie in preparation for your episode, Cece, I noticed that Kevin wasted a lot of his prep time because he knows that the wet bandits are who they are. And he's like, when those guys come back, I'll be ready. And he's got the cardboard cutouts and the dummies and all that stuff at first. But when he knows they're coming back at 9:00, they say that, Mr. Bond, we're coming back at 9:00. And
He's soul searching, Jade.
he is, but he's wasting so much time. You
have to feed the soul.
Oh, okay, so he's got to eat chicken soup for the soul before he can really prep his house for the imminent danger. I see.
Yes.
And
the
listeners,
inspiration,
Inspiration. So who gives him the inspiration, do you think, to Santa or the macaroni and cheese that he buys from the store?
I always get so sad when he doesn't get to eat his macaroni and cheese.
I did too. My God.
He lights candles. He puts it on a dinner plate. Microwave mac and cheese.
I wrote down his little prayer.
It's sad.
It's kind of flippant, but it's still really sweet because, like you said, he's almost got his little altar for his mac and cheese. It says,
That's always, even as a child, I'm like, but his mac and cheese.
He's going to be hungry. He's not prepped for this. But he had his chicken soup for his soul, so I guess
Exactly.
he'll be all right.
He fed his soul.
But he does say he lights his little candles and he crosses himself like a good little Christian. He says, "Bless this highly nutritious, microwavable mac and cheese dinner and the people that sold it on sale." That's what he says before he goes to eat his dinner, and then he doesn't even get to because the wet bandits show
Buzz's
up.
life savings only amounted to so much.
That's true.
So he had to get it on sale.
Yeah, because and I guess that proves Jason's theory. Who hindsighters, Jason had to depart, so it's just me and Cece for the remainder of this episode. We all know you're secretly really happy about that, but we won't tell if you don't. But yeah, so I guess that kind of proves the point that Jason was trying to make, where it's like, what treasures are really hidden in this house if Kevin has to resort to, breaking into his brother's hurt locker to find cash? Wouldn't his parents like maybe have an emergency? Because people kept, I guess, stashes of cash in their houses, like in special cookie jars or drawers or whatever back in the 90s, because ATMs weren't as, ubiquitous as they are
they
today.
packed it all to take to Paris, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. They had to get their euros and stuff transferred.
They also obviously had tar and feathers. For,
like you do. They had tar and feathers and every Christmas ornament in the universe that Marv could break his feet on. So what other crazy, like that sort of
blowtorch.
A blowtorch, that crazy cattle prod thing that he puts on the front door
Cattle prod,
handle.
it is totally like a
whatever it
cattle prod.
is, like, or a branding prod or whatever, because it's not a cattle prod. It doesn't shock, but he heats it up and puts it on the door handle, and that's just classic. Lack of education on Harry's part. He doesn't feel that door handle like you should in a fire. Oh, but wait, there's no fire. So yeah, he just grabs the door handle and burns the hell out of his palm.
I mean, he planned this out. He drew a map of the house.
Yeah, that says battle plan on it. Yep.
And a total breakdown of every single
Point of
trick.
interest. Like it just...
Icing the steps, setting up the light bulb with the iron.
The nail in the board
nail
on the stairs.
with tar.
Yep. That's what kills me. I know I already said it, but like after I fell 4 or 5 times just trying to break into a house, I'd be like, this is no longer worth the effort. I'm out.
Yes.
I know
But
that
you have brains.
Oh,
Yeah.
because I'm not one of those Australian criminals. Got it. We love you, Australia. We love that you love us teasing you. But we do come to a pretty important moment here. Because like I said, Kevin does have his battle plan and everything, but he's got time to visit Santa. He's got time to go to church for a little while. And it's kind of sweet that he seeks solace in church, considering it's not time for a service or anything. He just goes there, which is kind of unusual for a little boy. Like, you wouldn't really expect a little kid to just wander into a church and be like, oh, yes, this is where I find my solace.
We in my family refer to this character, Old Man Marley, as Father Christmas.
Okay. So you're kind of in Jason's camp where he's a bit of a supernatural being figure.
He is. I've never really thought about it like that, but he is a kind of Father Christmas, creepy Father Christmas.
Well, and he does have the white beard and
type character. But in the end, turns out to be a wise old man who's also in need of some help and a friend on Christmas, just like Kevin is.
And he does save the day. Like, Kevin is about to be physically tortured by 2 grown men before Old Man Marley comes along and smacks the hell out of him with his snow shovel.
You could also say that Kevin saves him.
Yes.
By putting the notion in his mind that he should just call his son, his estranged son that he wishes he could see on Christmas, and simplifies it for him. Hey, I used to be afraid of the basement.
I'm not anymore.
Fear. I'm not anymore.
Maybe you should. And it was so wise. He goes, just call your kid, because all I had to do to get over my fear of the furnace was turn on the light. At least when you call your kid, even if he doesn't want to talk to you, at least you know. So it's just, he has a very mature conversation with Old Man Christmas. I like Old Man Christmas better than or Father. I'm going to blend them together. He's Old Man Christmas.
I like it.
We're going to run with that.
But he says something so touching here, the old Man Christmas, where he says, Kevin says, aren't you a little old to be afraid? And he says, you can be old for a lot of things, but you're never too old to be afraid.
Yep.
Makes you think.
It does. And we've had this conversation on previous episodes, actually, where I can't remember which one, but it was talking about conquering your fear. And honestly, human beings don't ever really conquer fear. They just learn how to grapple with it, because fear is a primary reaction, or a primal reaction, excuse me, where if you're afraid of heights, oh yeah, that's because you know if you jump off this cliff, you will die. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's
it's based on real
instinct.
instinct to keep yourself safe, for
Right,
sure.
because we used to live in a world where there was imminent danger all around us. There were lions and disease, and hell, even weather used to be able to kill us pretty damn easily, and we had to react to those things on a visceral level. But nowadays that we're more complacent and we live inside and we work inside, we have stress and we have just anxiety because we're built to react to the dangers around us, but they're not there anymore.
So we
in
have
the same
to
fashion, at least.
consciously, tell ourselves, attempt to, wrap our mind around the fact that this isn't really something so important that we can get this stressed out over.
Right.
Have this kind of reaction over.
Exactly, because I read something that took me by surprise, because it was from Facebook of all places. It was a meme that says, anxiety is really just conspiracy theories that you have about yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to take pause for a second. I was like, wait a minute, that's just, it's so true. But
Mind blown.
we just make up these reasons to stress because our brains kind of need it, but they don't.
It's part of our,
It's part of our genetic makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Kevin is kind of overcoming his own fear right here, all that anxiety and stress, because every time he sees Old Man Christmas, he freezes. Flight is always his reaction. He has to get the hell away from Old Man Christmas because, and as an 8-year-old, but that you kind of have to suspend your disbelief with this story a bit, not just because Kevin's so self-sufficient and so intelligent, but because he's also so naive as to think, oh yeah, the man who's kindly salting the sidewalks in my neighborhood supposedly for free, yeah, he's obviously carrying around murdered bodies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he just
there's dead
believes
bodies
that.
in there.
Oh, absolutely. Believes it with that little kid, gusto that it just makes him so afraid of a human being that he's never had a conversation with.
Yeah. But this part, and then he hears the bell chime, and he knows he only has
The wet bandits are
however
on their
many
way.
hours left to prepare his house for the wet bandits to arrive.
So maybe he is so hyper organized that he realized he didn't need all this extra time. He had time to soul search. That's how, because when you have a plan, that's half the battle. He's like, all right, it'll take me 30 minutes to slip down the stairs. Like
He has the whole breakdown. Yeah.
he does. Okay. Yeah. he's
Maybe
gonna
he already set up part of it. We don't know.
Yeah, he's gonna be like a major general or something when he grows up. It's so crazy because he is so hyper organized, and a big part of this because we are closing in on our time, hindsighters, but we are getting to obviously the most exciting part of the movie. However, it does take a little more than an hour to really roll around to the action. This movie, I do kind of have to agree with Jason in the sense that it's not necessarily just a kid's movie. You see this sincere character arc and character development. It's pretty substantial, and that is part of what makes it a great Christmas movie. But we are getting to the exciting part where he's putting on his little toy trucks and he's setting all of
up his
traps.
micro machines.
Yep. Oh yeah, his micro machines that got him in trouble at the beginning of the movie because his dad was like, "Oh, those are sitting everywhere. You got to go clean them up, Kevin." And
He's right. It was sitting on a grill.
Yeah. No, I said that. Yeah. The cattle brander, whatever you want to, the McCallister brand, where they went out and branded their Chicago cattle. But oof, that nail, I could never get over it. Oh, and there's the iconic treehouse. Did you know that treehouse was not actually part of the property? They had to build it for the movie.
Really?
Yep, and they tore it down once they were done using it. And they donated all the fake snow in the movie to a local theater because it's made out of plastic, so it never, really goes bad. So the theater's actually been using it for productions for years and years. I can't recall the name of the theater company, but
reduce, reuse, recycle.
Exactly. Hey, this production was green, if nothing else. And you see the little tarantula just crawling around in different parts of the movie.
The subplot of the tarantula.
Yep. Oh, and here's his little microwave mac and cheese that he doesn't even get to eat.
Now that is a house.
It is. It's like a damn
That's
mansion.
Like 3 times the size of my house.
Yeah. Well, even when he was like the 3rd floor and it's fully built out, it's not like the rest of the house, but it is, like I said, it is a bedroom. It's not like she put him up, in a dungeonous kind of attic. Like it's not a, a torture room or anything. It's a nice room. But the bandits are here, and we can kind of gloss over a lot of this, like with the action, because we all know Marv and, the wet bandits get smacked with paint cans. They step on the nail. Marv does step on the ornaments that Kevin puts inside one of the windowsills. Do you know that those ornaments were made out of candy?
Oh, really?
Yeah, the actor Stern, he still wore like rubber bottoms on his feet so that he wouldn't get stuff stuck in the pads of his feet. But yeah, those weren't actual ornaments. They made them out of candy.
Wow, that's hilarious. Because it makes me cringe every single time.
Yeah. And
When you see the light bulb explode under his
Oh,
foot.
oh yes, the spark. Oh, that always gets me because that would hurt too. That's like a double bust because you bust the ornament itself and then you bust the light bulb inside the ornament.
Exactly.
Yeah, God, the things that stick with you when you see them. But I love that Kevin, personally, I love that Kevin was mindful enough to blow out the candles on his mother's table, yet he's got a hot iron brand on his front door handle. Safety first. Absolutely.
I love this part where he stands at the door and holding his BB gun says, "This is it. Don't get scared now."
Oh,
Xavier says that along with him every single time we watch this movie.
Oh, I can so see that. Oh, we just won't tell him how cute he is. I know we're not allowed to call him cute anymore.
Well, he might listen to this, so.
That is so hard. I'll cut it out. And, oh man, Xavier just has no idea how hardcore he is. That's really cool. But, that's
Here
what
comes his clever swearing. The friggin' fridge.
The fridge.
Friggity.
Well, because what would you be saying if you got shot in the crotch with a BB? Especially from such close range.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that.
Well, and this too is a callback to Uncle Buck. And Marv gets shot point blank in the face with BBs. That sucks. But this is a callback to Uncle Buck as well because at one point Macaulay Culkin's little precocious character is conducting like a babysitter interview through the mail slot in Uncle Buck. When in this movie in Home Alone he's shooting people through the doggy door. And I love that they have a doggy door, but there's no dog.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
I didn't think about that until today when I rewatched it. I was like, "Where's the dog?" He would have come in handy at the very least if they had one.
That's probably another
you know what?
sad story.
No. That's actually at the beginning because when the mom's on the phone when Kevin's pestering her, she mentions that they're putting the dog in the kennel.
Really?
Yeah. I'm peeling an onion in my own mind right now, but.
I always just pay attention to what a brat he's being.
Yeah, I used to too, but then this more, I just remembered my dad hated it when I would interrupt him on the phone when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
So I was really
I
honing.
hate it.
I imagine.
But my kids don't listen, just like Kevin doesn't. So
the mom's still having her conversation. She's like, "Oh no, we're boarding him at the kennel," and she's not talking about Kevin. She's talking about the dog. So, but we do get to most of the action here, and then we end up having a very wholesome ending. The grown-ups and the cavalry arrive just in time to have missed all the action.
yeah. Here he ices the steps.
Yeah, and once again, he falls about 70 times before he ever gets inside the house.
You know, it's funny the part where he goes to the treehouse to try to escape them and gets them to follow him
on the rope. As opposed to climbing down and just walking across the lawn.
He's like, "I'm going to call the cops." And they're like, "From a treehouse?" Right.
And he does, because the phones are suddenly live again.
Something that doesn't, translate to this time, because he totally could call them from the treehouse now.
Yeah, he could if he had his own cell phone.
Yeah.
Which these days 8-year-olds do. Oh, and the dreaded part. Oh, the iron in the face. We get that. That's... Yeah, fractured skull right there. He wouldn't be getting up after that. And then he still does. I do love that it lands flat on his face. It was hot enough to actually burn his face in the split second that it was on his
Preheated
skin.
the iron.
Yeah.
This kid has thought of everything.
I'm telling you, the most hyper-organized 8-year-old in all of time and space.
And these parents just completely ignored it.
They were just
like,
wasting his skill set.
So annoyed with this kid. Stick him in the attic.
Yep. You're too smart for your own good. You're annoying us. Get out of here. Oh, and I never really paid attention to this as a kid. When Harry goes to grab the door handle, you can see that it's red hot.
Oh, yeah.
I never paid attention to that for some reason when I was a kid.
Yeah, you can see it coming, but he doesn't.
No, of course not. He's blinded by anger. He's fallen and hit his head several times, and he's about to get blowtorched in the head. So, Harry just gets burnt extra crispy in this sense. And I love that Kevin's got this advantage where he knows where all of his traps are. So he's going to admire his own handiwork. You got to love that.
He's waiting to watch it happen every time.
Exactly. And Marv, I don't think you're getting up those stairs covered in tar, buddy. It seems like you've lost your shoes and your socks, so maybe this isn't the best way. Oh God, the nail! That's terrible. He steps on a nail and literally, once again, falls down another flight of stairs. So I at a certain point, because I remember when I was a little kid, I would try to complete a task, and if I tried it like this way 7 times, my dad would be like, all right, time to take a step back and figure out if this is worth the effort or if there's a better way you could be doing it. And that's how I feel about the Wet Bandits. It's just like, guys, that you've already robbed like 7 other houses on the block. And that's something I thought about too as an adult. All the other houses are already robbed. The rest of the family's going to have a worse Christmas than the McCallisters, despite the fact that they left their kid at home. Because they're all robbed over Christmas. It's horrible.
But this was like the ultimate. They were set on doing this, and they just won't give up.
Yeah, this was the crown jewel, I guess, of the street. So, yeah, and his foot isn't bleeding, or the tar packed it shut where he's not bleeding out of his foot. Who knows? Maybe the thieves are the supernatural beings. Jason was wrong the entire time. It's not Old Man Christmas. It's the Wet Bandits because they're invincible.
But ultimately, he has this plan to lead them into the house across the street.
Yes, which
that has already been robbed. Which
he doesn't realize, though, is also flooding
because
Marv left the sinks on earlier and clogged them up.
But he very intelligently calls the cops. He has a plan for everything and leads them to that house where he plans on leading the criminals.
Yes. This kid has thought through every little detail, and it's just so impressive. But so that's why, as a kid, I genuinely at this part that we're getting to right now, where they do catch up with him. The bandits do find Kevin, and they corner him. And poor little Kevin, they hang him up on a little hanger, and God, I would be genuinely scared too. If a grown man sitting there like, yeah, I'm gonna gnaw off every single one of your fingers. It's just, that's just so crazy scary.
But then supernatural Old Man Christmas,
comes
to the rescue.
The ultimate supernatural being
with his shovel that he used to kill his entire family.
Yeah, it's the zombie shovel because that's where all the bodies were. It's been zombified with all the zombie salt in his salt can. I don't know. I'm not as good at the conspiracy theories as Jason is.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, he does come along, and you don't really know. Like, they never give a sort of payoff moment where maybe Old Man Christmas knew that something was wrong with Kevin. Because as far as you know, Old Man Christmas has no idea that Kevin's home alone.
No.
But he just magically just kind of shows up. So maybe, the supernatural being thing.
I think that him showing up at church all by himself on Christmas Eve may have given him an inkling.
Oh, now see, you're a mom, so yeah,
he lives next door.
That's true. He does live next door.
It's like, what is this kid doing by himself in a church on Christmas Eve? So
yeah, that's a good point. And so maybe he's looking after Kevin, and he's seen him get spooked by his mere presence a couple of times, and like, okay, there's something a little off.
Sees him run across the street. What's he doing?
Yeah.
Sees 2 half-burned, shoeless,
extra crispy
criminals,
bloody feathered criminals running around. It's a bit of an odd situation, Scoob. Maybe we should check it out. Yeah. So ultimately the movie does have a very nice ending. Oh, and I forgot about the payoff too. I wrote in my notes how Joe Pesci loses that gold tooth that glints at everybody throughout the entire movie.
The reason Kevin recognizes him.
Yep, never picked up on that as a kid. I understood the part where he recognized the Wet Bandits because he's like, oh, that's the cop guy with the tooth. But when Joe Pesci loses the tooth at the end, I was like, oh, full circle. Just little things I didn't pick up on as a kid. Oh, but no, Kevin actually, he calls from his own house, telling them, oh, the robbery's actually at the other house, like you said, with the neighbors, but the phone lines are back up. So that's the good news, is that happened just in time for him to tell the police, hey, come and get me. The phones have been conveniently cut off for the last week and a half, but we're good now.
Of course, Jade, of course.
It all lines up.
I'm sure he checked and there was a dial tone. Lucky him.
Hey, oh, right, when dial tones were a thing.
Dial tones, right?
God, I'd forgotten about those for a second. Well, I still get disturbed because a dial tone is almost a comforting sound for me when I pick up a phone. And when I have a cell phone now, if the cell phone takes a second to start ringing, I feel like a crotchety old person. I'm like,
You
wait,
hope for a dial tone
is
there?
this connecting? Like, what? Why isn't it ringing? Like, I don't know.
Do you hope for a busy signal?
Any kind of noise that indicates that I'm actually connected to something. With a cell phone, that's just not always a guarantee. Especially when people put you on hold now and they don't have hold music. You're like, wait,
then
this
you're
could
like,
mean
what's happening?
Am I dropping the call? Like, this is 2019. You should have an indicator.
It's so scary.
There's our new our Fright Night movie that we should write together. The scariness of technology these days. When you were born before cell phones and the internet. God.
Call it call waiting. Dun, dun, dun.
Next Halloween, hindsighters tune in. But this is Christmas. So circling back to the fact that this is one of our Christmas episodes, and this is one of your favorite, you said, all time. So I know you said this is one of yours and your kids' favorite to quote all year round. So I'm glad that we got to hang out with you for one of your feel-good movies. But we have to get to obviously the most important part of this podcast, which is where we rate Home Alone on the scale of Alf to Seinfeld.
Remind me again of the
course.
Alf to Seinfeld.
So Alf to Seinfeld, yeah, it's very technical and complicated.
Yes,
so I'm
yes.
happy to explain it, no problem. But it's our
understand.
trademarked professional scale. But the way that it works, for those of you hindsighters as well who are not familiar, is it's an opposite end of the it's a flipped spectrum. So when you're a kid, Alf is so funny and so hilarious and substantial, and you think he's just the greatest.
Right.
Then you rewatch Alf as an adult, and you're like, this is a dumpster fire of a television show. And of course, you found it funny when you were a kid because it's a puppet and he
Right.
eats cats, and like it wasn't anything serious. So that's why Alf is on the bottom of the spectrum.
Right.
He's the zero. Now, on the top of the spectrum is Seinfeld, and the reason why it wound up on the top is because as a kid, if you sat through an episode of Seinfeld, it's kind of like your mom running into her best friend Janice at the grocery store, and they talk for 40,000 minutes, and you've got nothing to do, and you're a bored little 8-year-old, and you're like, I want to die. This is so boring. But then when you grow up and watch Seinfeld, it's so brilliant. They've got such great substance to the program, and it's so hilarious, and you love it as an adult. Mm-hmm. So where and the way that it's a bit of an on scale in the sense that if this movie holds up perfectly well just the way it used to for you, that means it gets a perfect 5. But if it got worse, below 5. If it got better, above 5. So where do you think that this belongs? Home Alone.
Well,
1
I think it
belongs.
definitely got better. However, I think I mentioned in the previous episode that I was on that I enjoyed Seinfeld as a child. So you're a little weird.
You're
for
messing
me.
up our very
I messed
scientific
it up,
scale.
But now I remember. But it leans toward getting better as I've gotten older.
Okay, so if
Where
it was a
I
scale
saw it
of,
on a surface level as a kid, and it was highly entertaining.
Yes.
But as an adult, I see all the deeper meanings
Nuances, yeah.
behind the movie. So I'm gonna say 7.5.
Ooh, that is a good, healthy score.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I would honestly, I'm going to tie with you on that one because for the same reason, when I was a kid, I love that there's this little smart-ass kid that gets away with all these crazy pranks and, yeah, I get the house to myself, and you get it at face value, like you said. Mm-hmm. But then you don't really appreciate his character arc. You might be substantial enough to be like, oh, yeah, I would miss my mom and dad, like, but you don't really think about it too hard, like not into too much detail anyway.
I mean, at the end, there's a white Christmas and not even the sight of the snow. Like, he's looking for his mom, and not even that excites him. He wants his mom.
It's Christmas morning.
Family
and
is the important part.
Oh yeah, it is. So you really appreciate the fact that that's what Christmas is all about, is family, not packages or boxes. Grinch. Oh wait, wrong movie. Sorry, backpedaling. But yeah, so on that particular note, Cece, I have to thank you for joining us again. Sorry that Jason couldn't finish out the episode with us. Not that we missed him. But thank you once again for joining us in the studio. If you'd like to say goodbye to the listeners.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We look forward to having you back many times in the studio again. Hindsighters, once again, as always, you can reach us on the social mediums at Hindsight is Horrifying on Instagram or Hindsight Horror on Twitter and Facebook, despite the fact that no one believes in Twitter anymore. It's okay. Darth Jader's still there. She'll listen if you're saying something. So feel free to tune in to the remainder of our holiday episodes that we've got coming at you. As always, thank you for spending your drive time, your listening time, any time that you shouldn't have been spending with us especially. That's the time we appreciate most. Thank you once again. As always, this is Hindsight, and good night.